Welcome back. As we earlier said, we're going to be embarking over the 33rd session of the summit, of the Arab Summit that was held in Bahrain's capital Manama and was attended by His Excellency Head of State, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and a bunch of Arab leaders. And we're very delighted to be having with us over the phone His Excellency Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good morning, Ambassador Bayoumi.
Good morning, good morning. How are you?
A good day to you, sir. Of course, observing the highlights and the activities of the 33rd Arab Summit that was held in Bahrain's capital Manama and was attended by most of the Arab leaders, and also a very impressive speech with the attendance of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who addressed the attendees, and he highlighted the usual important points concerning the Palestinian crisis. If you would like to talk to us about the importance of this summit, does it affect any importance to the current events in the Middle East?
Of course, it is very important. And every single leader of our 22 countries were there, either by themselves or by a personal representative, Prime Minister and so on. Also, the timing is very important because we are suffering from the massacre which is taking place in Gaza. The situation in Palestine is not acceptable to any country in the world except to Israel and the United States, which is protecting the Israeli aggression. And the good thing that they discuss immediately an agenda which they agreed upon. Then they took decisions and declarations touching every single item which was on the agenda to be discussed. Now we have the good chance that the whole world is behind us. In the United Nations, 154 countries voted for Palestine to be a full member of the United Nations. The whole world is agreeing to what we are asking, to start a serious peace negotiations for the sake of our people in Palestine. And we show that the Arabs are really on one position, on one coordinating decisions. And really I was glad to watch all the speeches and to see that there is one united Arab stand concerning the disastrous situation in Palestine. Also, the presence of our president is highly effective with his collaborators, and really it was impressive presence, and his speech really put all the position of Egypt in its place in order to show that we are fully supporting our Palestinian brothers in their struggle against the occupation of the Israelis.
Right. Before we get into more details, looking over the highlights of the President's speech to the summit, let us take a look over the opening remarks for Bahrain's King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, where he said that the meeting meets during painful, tragic conditions which threaten the Arab security and identity. He stressed over his country's support to the Palestinian people, and he stressed over the importance of maintaining the PLO, and saying that Bahrain seeks support from the summit to several initiatives to achieve peace in the region. How could we achieve peace in the region without solidarity? How could we achieve peace in the region with recognizing one faction and not recognizing the other? I mean, we keep repeating the same mistakes. How could we achieve peace when we are not, having the same, sharing the same goals. If you'd like to elaborate over Bahrain's King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa's speech.
No, as a matter of fact, the whole Arab world did whatever it takes from the Arabs, except that some people of our public opinion expect that we cut the relations or we start the war. This will be a good chance for Israel, because even the Prime Minister of Israel, as you rightly you may know, he is escaping from jail as much as this war is continuing. So we are not giving him this chance, because as President Sadat said once, we are not going to fight against the United States. The United States has a double-faced policy where they are showing sometimes some sympathy with the Palestinian for their country. On the other hand, they are helping Israel by $14 billion as a help, by weapons, by the presence of highly technical forces of the United States on the Palestinian soil, by the presence of the American fleet in the Red Sea and the Mediterranean. So we are fighting the United States, by the way, and many other countries of the NATO have interest to continue this massacre of Israel against the Palestinians. So really the Arabs are doing their best, supported by 154 countries in the United Nations, but unfortunately the position of the NATO and the United States is totally against us.
Exactly, that's the problem. But going back to President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's speech, where he was really, focusing over very important matters, but he was very impressive when he talked about the rights of tens of thousands of the children of Palestine who were killed, were martyrs during this genocide, the genocidal crimes that were committed inside the Strip. And he said, he gave a very important phrase, and he said, this is going to remain as a sword weighing heavy on the world's conscience until justice is done. So how do you assess that phrase by the President?
As a matter of fact, the President's speech was short and covering every single matter we are keen to see that the summit is discussing, whether on the international level, the war in Ukraine, the problems around the world, which is affecting all the regions of the world, including our region. Also, we have our regional problems with the problem in Syria. Syria is divided. Lebanon has no president since 2 years. Libya is divided, and the wealth of Libya is stolen by this party or the other party. Sudan is another disastrous. Yemen became a threat to the navigation in the Suez Canal. And sorry to say that the Arab world is not in good health. Thanks now to Egypt, which is the largest population and the largest army, that the country which is stands on strong feet with the 6 Gulf states, of course, and Morocco and Algeria. Without those countries, we were nowhere. We shall be nowhere. And we are trying our best. And the whole world is supporting us, but this has no meaning without Israel to abide to the international law, because we are dealing with a government which is combined of extremists. And the problem is that they are not only extremists, but they are ignorant. They have no idea what is the government should do. They have no idea about the international law. They have no idea about the war laws, and they have no honor while fighting. So they are fighting children, women, and old people. This is a very strange situation, and we have to live with it. But the only light coming in the end of the tunnel is the Palestinian resistance. I admire what the Palestinians are doing. God help them, because they are still there. They will never leave their country. In other countries, we have seen that millions of people left the country, but the Palestinians didn't do so, and they stick to the land, and they will resist this occupation in order to prove that Palestine is for the Palestinians, not to those who are coming from 72 countries which have no relations with Palestine, neither them or their grandfathers.
That's true. So again and again, the president have stressed over the fact that Egypt is in complete rejection of the liquidation of the Palestinian cause, the displacement of the Palestinian people out of the land, the starvation, the violation of international human rights, of course, the seizure of more land, the illegal bombardment. I mean, he focused over very, very important points that the whole world should speak up about and refuse it entirely, even through the war.
Yes, there are many priorities. The first priority is to stop the war immediately and to have some time to breathe. The second is to open the Rafah entrance to supply the Palestinians with their needs of medicine, of water, of food, and so on. And the Egyptian army is doing a marvelous job. And UNRWA is telling us that the Egyptian supply is 4 times the volume of supply of the whole world to the Palestinians. Third, that we are calling for negotiations to find a final and last solution for what we call the two-state solution. And here we succeeded to bring the United States and most of the Western countries even in order to support the solution of 2 states. Because even the wise men of Israel know that it has no future with 1 state, because one day the Palestinians will outnumber the number of the Jews in Palestine. So which future they expect for Israel in such a situation, also with enemies around all the borders of Israel? So we have a good case. We have to defend it, and we have to live with the position that United States and some other countries are helping this aggression directly or indirectly.
So also the president have said that those who believe that military solution can achieve security are deluded. What's your comment over that particular phrase by the president?
No, this will be a very welcomed attitude if we start to fight, because Sadat said once that we cannot fight the United States, because the United States is there giving all its power to Israel, and we cannot tolerate to fight the United States. So the only way is go behind the international law, behind the international organization and the United Nations, and continue this operation.
Right. Also, King Abdullah II addressed the summit, and he had a meeting with the president. How do you evaluate the Jordanian role?
Jordan and Egypt is the most strong position within the Arab world, and it's quite clear. They do not hide any contacts with Israel. We recognize Israel. We have ambassadors in Israel, and we make good use of them. and really the coordination between Egypt and Jordan is very strong and very important. I have witnessed during my time as head of the Israel department in the Foreign Office the high rank coordination between King Hussein, the late King Hussein, and our late President Mubarak. So since then, the relation between Egypt and Jordan concerning the Palestinian question is very strong and very well coordinated.
Mm. So also there was a speech by the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, and he also stressed over what President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi have called for. He called for the establishment of a Palestinian state side by side with Israel, Jerusalem as the capital, and also he rejected the genocidal crimes, the starvation, the blockade over the humanitarian aid flowing to Gaza to help our brothers and sisters in Palestine. I mean, he almost shared the same ideas with President Sisi and the rest of some of the Arab leaders. How do you read this statement?
As a matter of fact, we admire the position taken by the Secretary General of the United Nations, Guterres. It is unprecedented position by such an international figure. He came and he visited Rafah. He always supported the Palestinian question, and he is asking to stop this massacre, and he is always uncovering what Israel is doing against Palestinians. Really, this is a wonderful job he's doing, and we thank him for this, and he's very well appreciated all over the Arab world.
We totally understand that the United States has a strong veto power inside an international community like the United Nations, but also for a Secretary General like Mr. Antonio Guterres, what is exactly in his might to be able to change facts? I mean, his might is limited, and his capacity is limited when it comes to veto powers. But does he have anything to do in his hands to be able to effect some justice?
Of course not, because nobody, no country in the whole world has the power to change this sad situation where the veto was spoiling any possibility to take good decisions for any serious problem. That was used by the Russians, by the way, during the 60s against the Americans. Now it is a fashion that the Americans are using the veto to protect the Israeli aggression. So, and of course, all of us, all the countries of the world want to change this position, but without the acceptance of the 5 veto countries, we cannot reach a solution, and I don't think they will easily get rid of this power they have in their hands to veto any decision which they do not like. So it is a sad situation, but nobody can change it in the time being.
Right. It's true that the veto powers is very powerful, and those are superpower countries, and even a Secretary General of an international community don't really have too much in his hands to be able to stand up to those challenges. But there was one element that almost succeeded in conquering or beating that superpowers of world countries and the veto powers, like the peoples of the nations, like the students in universities in the United States, like Jews in New York, like the youth in Europe, like the protests all over the world of the peoples, the citizens inside those countries, even from the superpower countries. Do you agree or no?
In Israel itself,
yes,
there are wise men in Israel who are not happy with this situation, because a wise Jew cannot find an interesting future for this country by continuing aggression against all its neighbors. And by taking the whole land and living with 6 million Palestinians as enemies. They make them enemies inside the country. Nobody accepts this, even the wise men of the Jewish communities, whether in the States or Europe or in Israel itself.
Exactly.
And as you may know, that many Israelis are asking the Prime Minister of Israel to step down and to resign. But he would never do that because he is requested for the justice. He will face jail if this war will take place to stop.
Exactly. But do you think that voice by the peoples of those nations, the students in universities who succeeded in stopping the aid going to Israel by the board members of the universities, I mean, they have effected a lot of pressure over their universities. Do you think that those voices by all those people in world countries could succeed in, handling pressure over a country like the United States, pressing over the American administration, pressing over the Israeli government, the current Israeli government? Do you think they could bring down policies like that?
I think not, because still the majority in United States are affecting the decision of two organizations, the presidency and the Congress. But you will find some very wise men in the Foreign Office who advises always the president to take different position. Also wise men in the Defense Ministry, the Pentagon. So the opinion in taking decision in United States depends on those four organizations: the presidency, the Congress, the Foreign Office, and the Pentagon. But at last, it is the word of the president. So I don't expect a good solution in the near future.
Right. On this note, of course, Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister, would like to thank you, sir, talking to The Breakfast Show. And you have a good day. We're going to go to a short break and we'll come to continue The Breakfast Show, so stay with us.